that the suspension for Draymond Green is...
Just had to do it once, right?
There was no way you were going to not do it. It's just indefinite.
Yeah.
The league handed it down, and they handed down the old, we'll figure it out when we figure it out sort of thing.
Honestly, right now, I was upset with a cheap shot. I was upset with Draymond Green. Based on earnings, I have a ton of respect for the Draymond Green of 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I have a ton of respect. Look, he was a chippy, edgy guy. There's no doubt about that. He played the game in a very physical kind of way. But it's kind of like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers just kind of jumped the shark for whatever reason. And I licking toads in the darkness retreat and all of this stuff. And, you know, I don't know what's going on in Draymond's personal life. I don't. But, man, what's going on is in his professional life over the last couple of years, he's a cheap shot artist.
It's funny.
Is what he is.
What you just said has been like a recurring thing. What's up? What's going on in your personal life, Draymond? I mean, it feels like and I don't just mean like randoms on Twitter. I mean like people around the NBA, big names around the NBA have been saying, I don't remember a time when somebody got suspended or ejected from a game and that was everybody's reaction. What's going on in your personal life? I really don't. And yet it's almost universal. Look, it was a ridiculous play. I don't know if I have like a slightly different take on this than a lot of people. I guess it doesn't surprise me from him anymore. It really doesn't. And I think you kind of hit on it. And I feel like in a way he jumped the shark. Like I don't know Jordan Poole. I don't know that dynamic. But I know when you sucker punch a teammate, things change.
Yes.
And it changed the Warriors last year. And the only way you really come back from that is if you are contrite and you're like, hey, man, even if in the moment, like I felt like I was right and you guys don't know the whole story, it was still wrong.
Yes.
And instead, with these actions, he's just like doubling and tripling down on it. It really comes across, I said this to you in the pre-show meeting, it really comes across like he's had a great career, but it really comes across where he's like, yeah, I'm just as important as Steph and Klay Thompson. Like, you're not, dude. You look at your bench when you do these things. They don't have your back anymore. You're not playing with an edge. You're costing your team. And it's weird. It's getting weird now.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I did, base earnings. I was standing up yesterday, broadcasting. Standing up, kick the chair out, broadcasting, yelling.
You love that chair, too.
Just honestly, I feel ridiculous for doing that. But what happens is, once again, it's cool. I'm 61 in Savage Base and Orleans, and I put the headset on. And when I start talking about competing and what it was like to actually go out there, and I thank the Lord that he allowed me to do this, to be able to walk in between those white lines and tap into the primal side, the side in which he created in me and allowed me to be able to do it and be okay in a safe environment and try to drive somebody into the ground. It was such a beautiful thing. And I thank the Lord for that in my own personal life, base and audience. But man, when I start talking about competing and the respect that I have for competition, it just boils over. It does when I see a cheap shot artist. Because I remember what that was like out on the football field. And there were multiple cheap shot artists. And base and earnings, the satiated feeling you would have inside of you after you waylaid that guy who just cheap shotted your teammate, or maybe even you, and you found him 5 plays later and took him out and did it legally because it was the game of football. It was so satisfying. And I was yelling about the Draymond Green thing because it was so cheap. It was a cheap shot that he threw at Nurkic.
I wonder. You watch the play happen, and obviously the Suns had the reaction you would expect. Yes. Like, hey, what did you just do to our teammate? Like this is. But I wonder. Now it's a day later, or whatever, or even by the end of the game, are you more upset if you're on the Suns or if you're on Golden State? Because if you're on the Suns, it's like, okay, that was ridiculous, but Nurk's fine. It's infuriating, but Nurk's fine. On to Brooklyn, right? if you're the Warriors, like this is in-house. This is an issue. And it's got to be on some level embarrassing. Like when they showed Steve Kerr, everybody's seen the shot of the bench where guys on his own team are like, seriously, this is happening again? I mean, Kerr talked about it last year, about how that's something they need to fix.
Oh, my goodness.
Who needs to fix it? It's just Draymond Green on that team. It's not like that's a controversial team by any means. This is Kerr this is from all the way back to May 16th, okay? So this is not like yesterday.
He knows that he also compromised things by what happened back in October. And so part of him coming back next year has to be about rebuilding some of that trust and respect that he's earned here, for a long period of time.
So that was at the end of the season last year, a season that they were trying to defend the title, and he started it before the season even started by sucker punching a teammate who was coming off a pretty good year in Jordan Poole. And by the way, the Warriors opted to keep Draymond Green. Jordan Poole's gone.
Yes.
So they were like, okay, and again, that cut I just played was from May 16th. I'm not even sure Kerr's talking about Draymond now on December 14th.
Yes. Honestly, what I thought was interesting about that cut is part of him coming back was that he was going to, right?
Yeah.
Part of him coming back.
Like if we're going to do this.
They had this conversation with him.
How many times has he been ejected this year?
Yes.
That was not the first against the Suns.
I know that. And once again, this is the reason why I also believe that Draymond Green is trying to force his way out. That's just me. To lose your mind like that and do what he did to Nurk, you got it. It's the cheapest of the cheap. Well, and then he tried to play it off. And that's why I'm glad the league came down on him and said, this is an indefinite suspension.
Yeah.
We'll get to you when we get to you. Because you tried to cover it up and act like you weren't trying to do it. Knock it off.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.